Well, it looks like we're live. Let's see if we can reach out and touch somebody. Welcome to the Boss's Lunch Hour. That's what I call this. This is going to be my daily live where I come on. I've been teaching some different courses, some different methods and programs that I've been through in the past or taught in the past. So the one that I'm planning to work on now, it's called Quantum Leap 2024. And what we're doing is we're getting ready to get launched out into 2024. And so I'm going to give it a couple of seconds, see if anybody's able to join on. This is my first live. And I've done lives maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. But this is the first time to be able to get back on Do It Live. How about a nice little sip of soda water? And let's see, do we have any friends who joined in the chat? No. So like I said, what we're talking about today is this program that I have, this method, this way of doing stuff that it's called Quantum Leap 2024. And so getting ready for next year and getting yourself ready is really what it's about. It's a lot more than just like planning. A lot of people, you might think of it like goals for the year or New Year's resolutions. This is New Year's resolutions on steroids. This is if you really wanted to pay attention to it. And so today, what I'm going to do is just basically lay out the program for you a little bit. Today is not so much about specifics that we're going to do, but it's so you get a grand overview of the entire program because it is kind of a big program. Now, I don't think these headphones are working all that great, so I'm going to take them off. So I learned this in a mastermind a few years ago, and it made a huge difference for me in all aspects of my life. It's my business life, my personal life, and in fact, for the past 2 years, the effects of doing this just one time have carried out and it's continued to grow. So I call this Quantum Leap, and that sounds like a funny name, you know, it's a TV show or whatever, but the reason I call it Quantum Leap is because in physics, a quantum leap is when you have an electron and it jumps from a lower energy field immediately up to a higher energy field instantly. And so it doesn't travel in between the space to jump from that lower energy field to a higher energy field. And I mean, scientists, all these smart people, are way smarter than me, they figured out that it's probably not that it just, you know, magically appeared from one to the other, but it traveled so fast through that space that we couldn't even see it. So that's the same thing that's going to happen to you. This is the kind of program that can help you to create a quantum leap in your business, in your life, in your relationships. Because I mean, apply this to what we're doing. This program is about making huge game-changing jumps. It's about real dynamic personal growth that happens fast and big. We're working towards the kind of huge change where people can see the results and they do not see how it happened. It happens too fast. It happens in the dark, and it's just like a quantum leap. It happens so fast that people who aren't in it and aren't doing it can't even understand it, just like a quantum leap. So this is not like a baby steps program. This is about ending the next year on a high that you can't even imagine right now. It's about complete transformation. So with this Quantum Leap 2024, you're not just growing, we're going to help you to evolve into a new person. And what you're doing it faster than possible, faster than you thought was possible. You know, a lot of times you have an idea of what can be done in a certain amount of time, but that's just an idea. You know, you've probably heard the story about Robert Bannister that broke the 4-minute mile. Nobody could do it. Everybody thought it was just impossible. Humans can't possibly travel that fast. As soon as he did it, many people did it right after. And it's amazing once that mindset, you can see somebody else doing it, oh, I can do that too. So I'm going to teach you or tell you a little bit about my experience with this exact program that you're about to go through. I first did this at the end of 2021. Now, when I did it, I was at one of those times in my life where I really needed to have some growth. I really had some tough challenges going on personally. You know, a relationship fell apart, and you know, so it was time for me to dig in, and really, it was a fertile time for me. So I really put a lot of effort into it. I was like, you know what? I want my next year to be different than my last year. I really want to make a difference. So I put the time and the effort and the emotion and the energy into it. And exactly everything that I wrote down and exactly everything that I planned out happened exactly the way that I said it. It really has to do a lot about the energy that you're putting into this and the emotion and the time that you're putting into it. So I have friends that I have helped out with this program before, and one of my buddies, he went and rented a hotel room for the weekend and did nothing but just cram this in and focus on it. Some of you might want to do it over the course of a week or two. Like maybe you'll come back and watch these videos and go through the steps in the process a little bit slower. But however you do it, I encourage you to spend a lot of focus and energy and emotion on it. Because all of this, you'll see as we start to talk about it and go through it, it's about tying emotions to these goals and these plans and these stories that you have for yourself. So that's what I did at the end of 2021. And in 2022, I had all the results that I had planned. And so some of the stuff that I had talked about were one of the main goals I said, you know what, at the end of this year, you're going to be in rooms that you cannot even imagine right now. You're going to be talking to people that you cannot even imagine why you would be talking to them, how you would be talking to them. And that's exactly what happened. By the end of that year, not only was I talking to state senators, governors, federal senators, the Speaker of the House, I got invited to go to the state Senate in West Virginia. And they introduced me and our group as like some prize entrepreneurs for the area that were working on a project. And I mean, getting introduced and getting a standing ovation in the state House of Congress, that is beyond anything that I could have imagined at the time when I wrote it. Whenever I wrote that I was going to be in rooms and be with people that I couldn't even imagine at the time, I could not imagine why or how or what would possibly happen that would put me in the room to be getting a standing ovation from the House of Congress. And that's what happened. And so that's what I'm telling you. This is a very powerful program that you can use to really set some emotions and tie it to strong feelings that are going to help you to achieve these goals. So I also want to tell you about a time that it didn't work, because I did this also at the end of 2022. Now, whenever I tell you the first time I did it, the results have carried over for a couple of years. But this last year, I didn't really spend like 3 or 4 days. I did it in about a day. I went through the program. And the first time, I think I spent 4 days. And at that time, whenever I very first did it, I didn't have a quiet place to be. There was, people coming and going and asking for help and things. And I was staying with some family. And so I needed to get some place where I could just really focus on it. So I went to a library, put on the headphones, put on the music, and just focused up and did nothing but write on this for 4 days. And it made a huge difference that year. Now, the next year, I pretty much did it in an afternoon. I really didn't focus on it. I was taking breaks in and out, and I just kind of wrote out some stuff. And that's the kind of result I got. I wrote out some stuff kind of results. So as you're going through this, remember that the energy and the time and the emotion that you pour into this is only going to benefit you. And same thing, the lack of energy and time and emotion that you put into it, you're the only one that's going to hurt. So, you guys ready to jump in? Let me look in the comments. Is there anybody in the comments wants to? Oh, I see. Thank you so much, Jessica. Can I get a thumbs up from anybody in the comments that this is good information they're digging? I'll give you all a second to respond. So anyway, the other thing about this is I'm going to be doing lives every day this week. And so if you want to jump on, we're going to be talking about the same information until I get done teaching it all. I think it'll take about 2 weeks. But I'll be jumping on for the boss's lunch hour. This is what I'm going to be teaching. After that, I'll just go into general business stuff that you can come on and ask questions. And we'll see if we can get you some answers. So for this program, one of the very first things, I talked about it already, we're going to set some goals. But it's time to start setting super clear goals. These are not just like ideas that are kind of like generalized ideas. We're going to talk about specific times, specific numbers, specific amounts of time. We're going to get it done clearly. It's probably way more detailed and clear than you've ever written out before. And you're probably going to see that you're going to get way more detailed results than you've ever had before. These are not like New Year's resolutions. I'm going to stop biting my fingernails. I'm going to go to the gym. And even those are just kind of like not really that exciting or important. These are the mental paving stones that are going to lay out your road. They're going to lay out the path that you're going to take in this upcoming year. So whenever we say that we're setting goals, we're going to be setting goals that really reflect what you want to achieve in this year ahead. It's not just about some ideas. It's about starting with intention so that you really know where you're going, and that way you can get there. So let me take a little sip of my coffee. Refreshing. So we're gonna key in on the science of achievement. We're gonna start off by getting into the nitty-gritty part, the nitty-gritty of what makes us tick, what makes humans work. We're talking about like neuroscience. We're talking about psychology. We're going to set up your mind to really understand how your motivation works. So we're going to try to understand why habits are so powerful and how discipline can just really be your best friend in life. You know, a lot of times we talk about motivation. We want to get motivated. But really we're going to talk about discipline, because discipline eats motivation for breakfast. That's a Jocko Willink quote if you want to look that one up. It's really good. Discipline will win over motivation every time. Because discipline is you do it whether you're motivated or not. So we're going to really work on that discipline. And it's not just discipline of what you do with your body. It's also your mental discipline. Discipline with what you do with your mind. So we're going to build this foundation for you. This is where you're going to define what your business stands for. We're going to get you a strong foundation for your business. And this is going to be a lot of the emotional work we're just talking about. We're going to do that emotional work that's going to back up and nail down your mission. Because what point is a mission if you do not have an emotional connection to it? Is that really a mission? You know, a lot of times in business we talk about like core values or our mission statement or all that kind of stuff. You know, I'll tell you about my mission statement and I'll tell you why it's so important to me. I have a mission statement that my mission is to help 1 million fathers connect more deeply and emotionally with their children through the bonds that happen at these outdoor and camping activities. And, you know, there's a lot of emotion in that for most folks, but there's specifically a lot of emotion in that for me. You know, through a bunch of mistakes in my own life and my son's mother's life, I don't see my son. We don't have a strong emotional connection right now. So that is a strong emotion for me. And it gives me a mission to be able to help other people to not have that. You know, whenever you have a pain or a desire, you can use those. And that's a lot of the things we're going to work on in this program, is to be able to use those to have a mission to drive. You know, and it's not just a mission to drive for yourself. A lot of this mission to drive for yourself is helping other people. And so we're going to work on a lot of that. So hopefully you can start to see how it's connected emotionally. And, you know, the whole point of being an entrepreneur is you decide who it is that you want to work with and who you have these emotional connections with. So we're going to work on that. We're going to plan it out. Who do you want to be spending your time with? What is the culture that you want to set? You know, we talk about that too. In business, we talk about the culture of our business. It kind of sounds like, oh, that's some corporate stuff that the corporate people do. It's not just for your business. It can be for your family. Like, what is the culture that you set for your family? So one of the other things we're going to do is not just set goals and bring things into our life. We're going to eliminate. It's time to clear the decks. We're going to look at shedding some stuff in your life that's probably holding you back. It might be clutter on your desk. It might be clutter up in your business and your business practices. Anybody else have some garbage they need to get taken care of from last year, like me? You got to ask yourself, am I going to carry this trash with me into the new year? Like, think about that for a minute. When you move to a new house, you don't go and pack up the chicken bones and the banana peels and everything from the chicken rubbish and bring it with you to the new house. So if you're starting new and you're creating this new identity and starting a new year and a new plan, we're going to eliminate some rubbish, okay? So we're going to break all this down actually into actionable plans. So a lot of times we set a goal and that's just like way off in the distance, but we're going to set some short-term, some mid-term, and some long-term goals, some benchmarks along the way. So it's time to get serious. That's what setting a plan and going 1, 2, 3 actionable steps. It's getting serious. If you want to make a real quantum leap in your life and in your business, you got to get serious. I mean, your life is serious. The life of your children, whether you can pay for them to go to college or not, that's serious. Whether you can pay your mortgage or not, that's serious. You know, these goals that you set for yourself in your life and in your business, whether you have a good relationship with your spouse, that's serious. So life is serious. And we're going to take some serious looks at it and set out some serious steps. Because, I love this quote. I'll tell you how serious life is. It's so serious, not a single one of us is getting out of this alive. That's how serious life is. Now that's kind of a joke, but it's a joke about being serious. One more sip of coffee. So a big part of this is we're going to set up a 12-week plan. It's your first quarter, Q1. We're going to set some ambitious goals and we're going to start smashing them right off the bat. So if you're going to have this whole year planned out, why not front load it and get some big wins right at the beginning, get some big momentum. We're going to take some massive action right at the beginning and let that carry out through the rest of the year. So you can think of this first quarter as a sprint, and it's going to set you up for that marathon ahead the whole rest of the year. That massive action is really what kickstarts it all. And really you want to set the goal now for that massive action because an inch makes a mile. So if you're a little bit off in your goal, from here, if it's a long way to go, you could be a mile off by the time you get there. So really start with the intention. We're really going to focus on that. I know I've been harping on it, but it's important, and that's why I keep going over it. Because there's nothing worse than toiling and sweating and bleeding and crying and getting all the way to the end, and you're someplace that you didn't want to be because you didn't set the intention to get where you wanted to go. So that's what we're going to work on. There are also some neurological levels to all this. We're going to make sure that your business goals really line up with who you are, what you want to do, and who you want to be. Now, this is about your identity. Some of us might find out in the middle of this that the identity that we carry right now is not suited for the year that we're planning. The who that I am now may not be ready for the what I'm trying to get this year. So we're going to explore that. We're going to dig in on our identity, and if we need to make some changes, we're going to make some changes. Now, this identity that we're talking about right now, that's the name that we give to ourselves. It's the name that we give with the story that we're telling ourselves about ourselves. I say this all the time. Nothing is happening but your brain telling yourself a story about what's happening. So you're telling yourself a story about what's happening all day, every day. And what we're going to do is start to work on that story. We're not going to be telling ourselves a story that doesn't work for us. Another big part of this is we're going to take a big no BS look at where your business is at now. You can take this and you can apply it to your family, to your life, to your relationship, to your dating, whatever. We're going to figure out what's working and what's not. And we're going to figure out where you need to go. Now, this is a no BS look. I'm not joking. The first time I did this, I was shocked at how poorly my business was doing, how poorly my relationships were, how poorly I was performing even in my family relationships. I'm sure it'll happen this year that I'll look and go, I'm not anywhere close to where I thought I was. I mean, especially if you're a founder like me. Because if you're starting a business, you got to believe in this thing, man. You got to believe in it even when it's not working. You got to it's got to exist in your life as if it is working even when it's not. And even when it didn't work, you had to believe into it. So likely you get to be where you only see the positive. And I mean, it can get to the point where you cannot even see the negative. Because, I mean, as a founder, if we could see the negative, we probably would have never even kept going in the first place. That's why most people quit. The reason most people quit is when they can only see the negative and they can't even see or imagine the positive anymore. So remember that for yourself, a little tip. As long as you can at least imagine the positive, you might not quit. You probably won't quit as long as you can imagine the positive. So we're going to make a timeline. All of this that we're planning, all of this that we're doing, all this that we're saying, and we're going to put some dates and some times on it, because there's not a someday in my calendar. I don't know about you guys, but if you look at your watch, I don't know if you have a part on your dial that says soon or someday or one of these days or when I get around to it. I don't have any of that in my schedule. I'm pretty sure that not a single one of you has it in your schedule either. So if you want to get something done, you want to put it in your schedule, create a timeline. So that's one of the things we're going to do. We're going to map out this coming year and set some benchmarks. And we're going to make sure you have a clear path laid out. Because like I said, the way to get somewhere is to have a path laid out and just follow it. So some of these very specific goals, every quarter, we're going to do that. Sure. That's pretty common. Set some quarterly goals. But also some expectations for yourself. Not a goal to achieve, but something completely in your control that only you can choose or influence. This is a goal to get your habits in place. You know, like a goal is actually a place that you're getting to, but the habits are the steps along the way that get you to the goal. So we're going to set those up. What are those habits? And not just what you're doing with your body. What's going on in your mind? What are those mental habits? That'll come up again. We'll keep talking about that. Another big plan, part of the plan that we're going to make, is day one back at work. I'm sure you've all been through this like I've been through this. You go to a retreat, you write down your goals, you set some stuff up, you write down some blah, 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 you get back day one, and everything's on fire, and nobody's doing what you thought they were going to do whenever you were so inspired, and you say, man, I'm going to write this memo, and they're just going to get it excited with me, and it doesn't work at all. So we're going to set up a plan where you can dive in with a plan that's geared specifically for you to make the most out of the year. So right now, you're about to go into a time focusing on you. There's not on this program about other people. This is a program about you, your thoughts and goals, your dreams, desires, your plan for you, not a plan for what everyone else is going to do. During this slower time of the year, while you probably have some time to really prepare yourself, you know, I think a lot of people think this is a fast time of year because there's a lot going on. But all the different changes, there's time for you to think about. It kind of brings out and shows you yourself during this time of year. So as you're preparing yourself for the next year coming up, and you have this time of self-reflection, take that time to plan out day number one. And take that time to deal with all the old stories that are going to come up real strong in day number one. Old habits, old ways that we relate to people, our boss, our subordinates, our spouse, our kids. Who are your neighbors? Who are the people that you're relating to? Give yourself the gift of a plan of how to deal with day number one. How to not give in when you have pushback from the old people or the other people or the old systems. So there's ways that you've been acting and ways you've been dealing with people. They don't serve you anymore. So whenever you go back on day one, we're going to have a plan for you so that it doesn't sweep you back into any old habits or old ways of thinking. Okay, we're going to find out how to make your drive last. I'm going to set up with you, and you're going to plan out for yourself ways to stay motivated and to handle the stress. Because we all need to stay healthy and motivated, and even though that discipline can push us, eventually that discipline will allow us to just like burn up our machine, so to speak. So if you use your body and your mind as like a machine, and you don't oil it, you don't take care of it, you're just going to burn it up. So we're going to find ways to make our drive last without burning ourselves up. Because, I mean, let's be real with each other. Something's going to come up this year that's going to try to take you off course. Somebody's going to get sick. Somebody's going to quit. Somebody's going to have a car wreck, or a house is going to burn, or something crazy is going to happen. That's called life. That is called life. Life is just like that. But the big thing is that the same wind blows on you, that blows on me, that blows on him, that blows on her. It's the same wind blows on all of us. The only difference in where we end up at the end of the race is the set of our sail. Everybody gets the same wind. We choose how we set our sail. And that determines where we get at the end. So we're going to go over a lot of things to implement gratitude into your daily life. This is an important part of setting out a plan. It's important to stop and appreciate the good stuff that's going on along the way. Because you might have a plan, you're going along the way, you're not enjoying it, you're not appreciating it, you might quit. So the wins you're going to rack up and the people you're going to help along the way, we're going to pay attention to that and get that into a daily gratitude practice. Because we're not only going to set goals, but rewards. What are some of the awesome things you're going to do and the feelings you're going to have when you achieve these goals you set? What are you going to do? You're going to take a trip? You're going to buy your mom a house? Get a watch, get a car, put the kids through college? Gratitude is the key to the happiness and appreciating those things. Because what if you did? What if you got this, achieved this goal, got some money or some success or whatever it was you were working towards, and you went to take a trip and you couldn't even appreciate it because you didn't have any muscles of gratitude? If you don't have the habit and the muscles and the system of gratitude, what's the point of even going to take a trip and having fun? So we're going to get that gratitude in there so you can really enjoy these successes you're going to have. Skill acquisition and growth. We're going to focus a little bit on what it's going to take for you to become the person who gets the things you want. If you're this far into this and you've been listening, you're someone who's aiming up. You're someone who's trying to grow, and the way you do that is through skill acquisition. I'll tell you, one of the most frustrating things that you can do is to try to earn an uncommon amount of income while giving common quality output. It's a terrible hamster wheel. People don't get paid incredible amounts of income for giving just common amounts of service. So we're also going to set up, I call this the daily drip. These are the small actions that lead to big results over time. You know how a little tiny drip, it's just a little tiny drip. But when that drip keeps going every day, it can flood the whole house. So this is a little tiny drip, the little small daily actions that can make the big results over time. And here's the thing, you're going to be setting these up, and that's why a lot of this is about you and self-reflection. As a matter of fact, all of this is about you, self-reflection, and planning for you. We're going to set up these routines to make sure that you're always moving towards your goals. We're not going to let ourselves flip back into old habits. Set up new routines to replace the old habits. Now, we all know about habits and routines. That's like what you do with your body each day, and that's important. But also we're going to get into some mental habits. I'm going to go back to this story we were just talking about. What is the story you're telling yourself right now that does not serve you? Everything in your life is yourself telling yourself a story. Like your brain lives in a black box in complete darkness and never, ever, ever has contact with the entire world. Your brain does not contact the world. Your brain gets input through your eyes and your ears and your tongue and all that. But it just has to get information in. It doesn't even experience the outside world. So these mental habits and what you tell yourself and the story you're telling is all your brain has to feed on. So feed it the story that you want it to hear. And a lot of this daily drip is going to be about the telling yourself the story that serves you. Telling yourself the story that makes your life a better life. Even if your story is the story that you're telling yourself is not true. The point of the story is whether the story you're telling is serving you or not. Because you're the only storyteller and the only story listener. Everyone else is listening to their own story that they're telling themselves. They don't have any time to pay attention to the story you're telling yourself. That was a big breakthrough for me when I realized everybody else is listening to their own story that they're telling themselves. They don't care what my story is. They don't care what story I'm telling myself. So why don't I tell myself the story that helps me the most? All right. So that's what the program is about. I'm going to be getting on here every weekday for a little bit. Let's see, do we got anybody joining on in the live? I know the lives, we just announced it at the last minute. And so these are to be recorded and people can go back and get started with them at any time. Let me look and see if anybody's live and I'll answer any comments that are coming in. All right. Well, thank you, folks, for anybody that came in live. If you're watching this in the replay, I hope that you join in every day on the lives or go back and watch the rest of the program. This is really going to be a program that can help you change. If you want to make these changes, this program is here for you. I put it up here for free so you can come and watch it, and I hope that you have success with it. Let's really make a quantum leap in 2024. All right. See you tomorrow. Love you guys.